Hi guys, and welcome back to another Premier League prediction video. This week is action packed. There's 3 relegation battles along with a battle for a European spot, a battle for a Champions League spot, and the most exciting game over the past few seasons, Man City against Liverpool. That's going to kick off today's episode because it's the first game, Saturday, 12:30. It's going to be a great game. But before we get into that prediction, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you are new to the channel, and make sure that you hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any more Premier League videos. Now, I've started to do YouTube Shorts. I think it's a very interesting thing to do because instead of me just talking about predictions, I've been speaking about managers getting sacked. When the transfer window's open, I'll be talking about players moving. I might speak about a specific team, give a reaction to a match, and YouTube Shorts is a very, very good way to do that. I'm enjoying making them and there will be plenty more to come, so make sure that you check out my shorts. And yeah, let's get into my predictions. And we start off with the match that has been so big over the past few seasons. It might not mean as much for both teams this time around, but Man City certainly need to beat them, and Liverpool and Klopp especially do like to stand in Guardiola and Man City's way. City, great form, won 6-0 against Burnley before the international break. Very, very tough side to beat. They're not losing many games at all. Liverpool, on the back of that massive win over Man United, then went and lost 1-0 away to Bournemouth in the league. Then they got knocked out of the Champions League by Real Madrid, losing the second leg as well as the first. It's not going well for Liverpool at the moment. They're out of all competitions. They're not going to win the league, so no trophies this season. But a massive trophy for Liverpool this season would be getting into the top 4. If they don't, I don't think there's a chance Bellingham signs in the summer. I think they'll struggle to get many players through the door as well, and with a few players that are going to be exiting the club, they are going to need to solidify that top 4 position, but they haven't yet got their hands on it. It's going to be tough. For this one, City, Haaland is an injury doubt, which is obviously a big miss for them. Foden won't be able to play. So there's 2 very good players there. I always find when Foden and Haaland play together, City seem unstoppable. Every time Foden plays with Haaland seems to score at least 2, but mainly a hat-trick. It's very strange. They seem to have a very good link together, but they're both going to be missing more than likely, which means Julian Alvarez will be filling it up front, I'd imagine. And how's he going to get on? Well, I do think that City will win this one, but Liverpool, they will cause some trouble. And they are a side, if anyone's going to go and beat Man City, it will be Liverpool, because they have done it in the past plenty of times. It's at the Etihad though, so I'm going to go for Man City to win 3-2. Next up, 2 sides that got promoted from the Championship last season. One of them is safe, the other is in the thick of it. Bournemouth against Fulham. Bournemouth really struggle away from home. They lost 3-0 to Villa last time out, but at home their last result was a 1-0 win over Liverpool. If Bournemouth are to survive, it will be because of their home form. Fulham haven't won in 3 games. They are going through these little spells where they're struggling. They had that crazy match against Man United in the FA Cup where Willian handballed it on the line, gave away a penalty and got sent off. Then Mitrovic pushed the ref and got sent off. Marco Silva got sent off, all in the space of about 2 minutes. Then the game really turned upside down because they had 9 men and no manager. They were leading at this point, so Fulham really threw it away there. Not blaming Willian, he had to do it, he had to stop the goal, but Mitrovic losing his head, Marco Silva losing his head, did not really help them at all. For this one, I think Bournemouth are going to give it a good go because they're the home side, and I do actually see them getting a point out of this, so I'm going to go 1-1. a potential banana skin here for league leaders Arsenal as they host Leeds. Now Leeds are in a relegation battle, but they are starting to find their feet in front of goal. A 2-2 draw with Brighton, and then a 4-2 victory over another side fighting relegation, Wolves. Very big win there, and it has helped to ease the pressure. They will need to continue finding the back of the net, but if they do carry on in that sort of goal scoring form, I don't see them getting relegated. Arsenal, top of the league, 6 wins in a row, beat Palace 4-1 last time out, and they're looking brilliant. I think the biggest thing that could hamper them is the international break that's just gone. Sometimes a break in play comes, you lose your momentum. If they get off to a good start here and go and win this game emphatically, I think it's going to be very hard to stop Arsenal winning the Premier League this season. For me, Arsenal win this one comfortably and emphatically, 3-1. Next up, Brighton against Brentford. Probably the two teams that have overperformed this season so much. They're both doing so well, along with Fulham, who were pretty much nailed on for relegation. They've been brilliant. But Brighton and Brentford both joint on points. Brighton 2 games in hand, and they're really not far off Europe. So whoever wins this game will take a bit more of an advantage. I think if Brighton win it, then Brentford are kind of going to finish below them, with Brighton having another 2 games in hand. But if Brentford can win it, good on them. It gives them a good shot at finishing above Brighton. Funny thing about this one, both teams have lost one of their last 7 games, and both teams have won 3 and drew 3 of the other 6. So both very similar form. Who do I think this one's going to fall with? Well, I do quite fancy Brighton, purely because they're at home, and I've just got a feeling that they might, with those games in hand, go on and potentially push for European places. I'd love to see it happen to either of these clubs. I think Brighton are in the best position, and I think they will just about edge this one, 2-1. Next up, a relegation battle. Palace against Leicester. Did Palace make a mistake sacking Vieira? Now, they hadn't won since New Year's Eve. They hadn't won in 11 games, but they were all against teams above them, and they only lost one of those games by more than 1 goal. So they were in contests, they just struggled in front of goal. They weren't too bad defensively at all. Leicester haven't won in 5, losing 4 of them. Not in great form. They're struggling. Palace, for me, they've had that bad run of form. They've got 6 games now against teams in this relegation battle. I think Palace with Vieira would have won a lot of them and stayed up. I think Palace with Hodgson will as well. I don't think it matters that Hodgson's now in the door. I think Vieira would have done the same, but Hodgson will take them to safety, and I actually fancy Palace to win this one and pile more pressure on Brendan Rodgers. So Palace to win on Roy Hodgson's 700th debut for Crystal Palace, 1-0. Forest take on Wolves next, another massive relegation battle. Forest haven't won in 6, losing 4. They are much better at home than they are away, so this game is key for them. Wolves won 1 out of 6, losing 4. It started very well under Lopetegui. It has seemed to go a little bit astray recently, but I think they'll be safe. I think Forest will be safe eventually, but they are going to have to rely on their home form. Because of their home form, I am going to go for Forest to edge it, 2-1. Chelsea take on Villa now. Chelsea have gone 3 games unbeaten, which you wouldn't think is great because it's Chelsea and they're normally a lot better than they have been this season, but they're moving in the right direction. However, throwing away a 2-1 lead over Everton in the last minutes isn't a great way to, help your momentum. especially with Everton struggling so much and Everton being poor away from home. Villa are in good form, 4 games unbeaten, winning 3 of them. I've got a feeling Villa will get a point out of this one. I wouldn't be surprised if they won it, to be honest, because Chelsea are just so hit and miss. They're normally a miss. They are building up a bit of form, but they still do seem to lack a bit of game management at times. So I'm going to go down the middle, 1-1. The third and final relegation battle, West Ham against Southampton. This is a massive one because it's 19th against 20th, and I know from 20th to 12th there's only 4 points separating them, so a lot can change, but these two are the bottom 2, which makes it even more interesting. Now, West Ham are much better at home than they are away. They're struggling away from home. They got a good 1-1 draw against Villa in their last game. They also got through to the next round of the Europa Conference League, a competition that they definitely have the quality to go on and win. Would they manage to win that competition and get relegated and be playing in the Europa League in the Championship, like Birmingham City were? That would be interesting. It's something I'd like to see. Not that I particularly have anything against West Ham and wanting them to get relegated. I don't mind West Ham. I don't really care who gets relegated. I don't really have any loyalties to anyone down there. But it would be an interesting story. A Championship side in the Europa League again. I don't think it will happen though. West Ham have the quality. They just need to start to pull together. Southampton, on the other hand, don't really have great quality. They are struggling. They managed to get a brilliant point though, 3-3 against Spurs, in a game which made Conte have an outburst in an interview after the game and get sacked. It's very weird because Southampton are picking up points you wouldn't expect them to be. They beat Chelsea a month or so ago away from home. That they're getting good wins and good points here and there, so they're still fighting and they've got every chance because there's so many teams struggling this season. Will they escape though? I'm not too sure. I don't think Southampton will, just like I don't think Bournemouth will. But every team has the opportunity because there's so many others underperforming. For me, this one, I see West Ham getting all 3 points and winning it 1-0. A clash between 3rd and 5th now. Newcastle in 5th against Man United in that Champions League spot. Now, Newcastle are in a good position to pounce onto Spurs and take their Champions League spot away from them. But there's still a little while to go yet and anything can happen. Spurs just sacking their manager could put them in a good bit of form and could, close that door for Newcastle. But they are in with a shot. They've won their last 2 games in the league, both 2-1 against Forest and Wolves. Man United haven't won in their last 2 league games, but they did see themselves into the semi-final of the FA Cup and the quarter-final of the Europa League. So they really are fighting on all fronts this season. But how is this game going to go? Is the fixture build-up going to get to them? Now, I know it's after an international break, so they are going to be fresh. It's a good opportunity for them. Their main man at the moment, Rashford, was too busy in America to join the England squad, so he's going to be fully refreshed, and that's a good sign for them. Rashford, he's had a lot of games over the past few seasons. He needed a break. He took it. Was it the right thing to do when your country calls you up? Maybe not, but Man United aren't going to care. They're going to be very happy. For this, I think it's going to be a tight game. Newcastle in better form now. They haven't really been in bad form all season. They lost a couple of games against Liverpool and Man City not so long back, but that's Liverpool and Man City. I can see Newcastle getting a point out of this one, and every point helps when you're chasing a Champions League spot. 1-1. And finally, Everton against Spurs. Everton 2 points above the relegation zone, and Spurs 2 points above 5th place, so just about in that Champions League spot. For me, this is going to be an exciting game because Everton haven't been in great form all season, but under Dyche, they've got a lot more resolve. They've been a lot better at home. A couple of 2-2 draws and a victory in their last 3 games. They're picking up vital points. They got that 2-2 draw against Chelsea just before the break. Brilliant result. Away from home as well for Everton. That's massive because they struggle on the road. Spurs just sacked Conte because of his outburst in a post-match interview because they drew 3-3 with Southampton. Was it right to sack him? Definitely. Everything he said was correct, but he's not allowed to say it. So he brought the club into disrepute. He had to go. It's going to be interesting to see how Spurs get on now because, someone inexperienced is taking the role until the end of the season. Are they going to manage to keep them in that top 4? Is this going to galvanise the players because they want someone great to walk through the door because they've got Champions League football next season? Are the players going to struggle because they're not under a world-class manager? And I know Conte had his moments at Spurs, but he still is a world-class manager. They now don't have that. So it's going to be interesting to see how Spurs do from now to the end of the season. But for me, Everton have been finding the back of the net a lot more recently. I'm going to go for a similar scoreline to what they've had. 2-2. So, those are my predictions for these upcoming Premier League fixtures. Make sure to get your predictions down in the comments. Now, I'd normally pick out 2 or 3 games that I think are key, but to be honest, the only game here that doesn't hold a lot of importance is Chelsea against Villa. And Chelsea still have that chance of getting into Europe if they are to go on a run. Villa, they're on the same points, but they're not going to go on that sort of run to get a European spot. Chelsea have the quality, but I can't see it happening. So for me, that's the only sort of dead game. The rest of them, there's plenty to play for. So give me the predictions for any games down below. Make sure to hit that like button. Let's try and get 5 likes on this one. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. And hopefully these fixtures are as entertaining as they look.